Stigham's chapter on this is a relatively recent edition, but it still doesn't really go far enough. So I'm going to say things that are not actually in Stigam, but I'm going to start with her so that we connect up. Okay? And she starts on page 212 by talking about where a eurodollar might come from. And her example is a firm like, I better start to the left of this because I'm going to have 4 of these. A firm like Exxon. So she tells a story about Exxon, which is a big corporation. And Exxon has an account at Chase, New York. Chase Bank. And it withdraws some money from that account and transfers it to Citibank in London. Okay, so from New York to London. So this is a bank branch that's out of the country. Okay, so there's minus Chase deposit plus Citi London deposit. Okay, minus Exxon deposit plus Exxon deposit. Okay, this is what Exxon is trying to achieve. Okay, what actually happens behind the scenes to settle all of that in order to make that go? What happens behind the scenes is that Chase, okay, transfers reserves from its account at the New York Fed. Okay, and I'm not showing the New York Fed, but we could do that too. But reserves at New York Fed, because it's in New York, okay, its Fed is the New York Fed. It transfers them to Citi New York, plus reserves at the New York Fed. Okay. And Citi New York acts as the correspondent banker with Citi London, plus deposit Citi London okay. So the way that the movement of these retail deposits happens, they're moving from New York to London. She makes a very big deal, Stigam makes a very big deal in the book, that no money ever leaves the United States. Okay, let's understand what she means by that. What she means by that is these reserves. Okay, there's a debit of Chase's account at New York Fed, and there's a credit of Citi's account at the New York Fed. And in that sense, there's no change in the quantity of reserves. There's just a change from the ownership of Chase and the ownership of Citi. And nothing is leaving the country. No reserves are leaving the country. That's true. Okay. But something is leaving the country. Okay, this deposit is leaving the country. And Citi and that's money. Okay, so there's a sense in which money is leaving the country. What's important to appreciate is that now these deposits that Citi London has in Citi New York are essentially reserves. Citi London cannot have a deposit account at the Fed. It cannot have it's not allowed. But it can have a deposit account at a bank that has a deposit account at the Fed. And so it can sort of indirectly have a deposit account at the Fed. And that's what it's operating. So it has these deposits, and the way it uses them as money, the way if Exxon wants to transfer this deposit to somebody else, okay, Citi London uses its deposit in New York to do that. So there's these like layers of reserves that are happening. Got that? Now this is Stigham's example, and I think that it actually might be better if we don't think of Exxon as transferring its money to a bank like Citi London. This is a branch of Citibank. Okay, so this kind of obscures a little bit of what's going on because you might think that the consolidated balance sheet of Citibank, these are kind of phony little entries. You know, this is Citibank owing to itself, really, one branch owing to another branch. So it's sort of just corporate accounting or something, and that really these are the reserves that are backing this, okay? So it doesn't make the point strong enough. So I would like to suggest a revised version of this, where Exxon is transferring its money to Credit Lyonnais. Crédit. And Credit Lyonnais is using a deposit at Citi New York as its reserve. Okay? So its deposit is in another bank, a different bank, not its own bank. That makes it much clearer what's going on here, that this is a correspondent kind of relationship. You're not going to consolidate these balance sheets and look through them and say, these reserves really belong to this deposit. That's certainly not the way Citi New York would say. Citi New York would say, these reserves belong to this deposit, right here. Okay? And that's it. Okay. So when we talk about eurodollars, we're talking about this stuff here that's on the balance sheet of banks that are outside the United States. Now we have this bank, Credit Lyonnais. Crédit Lyonnais. It's a bank. It can go into the dollar deposit business. It can go into the dollar lending business. It has reserves in its correspondent bank. Plus dollar loans, plus dollar deposits. You know, it can make loans by creating deposits. Okay? And if somebody withdraws those deposits, it can use these deposits in New York to make payment. Okay? So it can go into the dollar borrowing and lending business, even though it's in France.